you are seeing that has got the alarm bells ringing?
Well, the first thing I saw doing a regular melanoma clinic that I've been doing for years was that I was starting to see people who were stable, that we've been doing immunotherapy for over 20 years. And I was starting to see people who've been stable for 5, 10, even 20 years relapse, really unusually. They're very fit and healthy. And I've occasionally seen this when somebody gets very depressed, they get knocked back, a bereavement, a divorce, bankruptcy for months. And we know this depression is associated with immune suppression. So I have seen that 2 or 3 times. And I looked for this in these patients, and there was absolutely no evidence. They were all perfectly happy. So I basically said, what have they all got in common? And they'd all got in common was they'd had the first booster vaccine. It was around this time. And I was able to show that they'd had it, the relapse started between about 3 weeks and 3 months after the booster vaccine. So I thought this is an association. It doesn't mean to say it's causal. I mean, I'm the first to say that. But when you see an association and that it might be actually inducing it, you have to first of all ask why. Scientifically, is there a rationale for this? And 2, is there anything else? Is it just a coincidence? Well, the thing that alarmed me was that I've done a lot of research on vaccines in my time, and I immediately remembered the model where 1 vaccine's good, 2 might help if the first one didn't react properly, but the 3rd actually causes us more inflammation than good, and actually detracts from the first 2, and the 4th is even worse. And I suddenly thought, is this what I'm seeing here? So we looked at the patients who'd been given their booster vaccine. There's a lot of research going on, and they were all just focused on the antibodies. I mean, the rationale for giving this booster vaccine was the antibodies from the first 2 are starting to wane. They need a boost. That was totally inane thinking, because the antibodies will always wane after an infection, after a vaccine, and then they will settle primed for when you do come across the virus. They're primed to rise up against it. You don't need to give it a big boost. And the other thing that was clear, they were boosting initially with exactly the same virus that they were attacking in the first place, which had left the planet over a year ago, 18 months ago. And we were now dealing with a totally different variant, the Omicron, which I actually personally think was the best vaccine we ever had, because it was airborne and very non-toxic.
What is it that, let's say that it's the booster, whatever was injected in the booster, what is it that it does to the body or to the immune system that would make that person more susceptible to the cancer that had otherwise been being held in abeyance?
Well, that's quite right. The immune system, it does hold the cancer in abeyance. We now know that very, very well. And we've known that when severe immune suppression is induced by some other source, like HIV, cancers appear, which would not normally have appeared. So what's happened with this booster, I mean, it's a powerful booster designed to induce as many antibodies as possibly can. And the immune system's only got limited resources, and it remains in an equilibrium balance. So you're suddenly using an enormous amount of these resources to make antibodies to throw at a virus that's not there and never will be. And we predicted that if there was a successful coronavirus vaccine, it would only be useful once, because you get this thing called immunological imprinting or antigenic sin. So even if you do put in a new variant, the immune system will only see the response to the first virus and the first vaccine. So the scenario is quite pointless, except by using all these resources, you actually take away from the T cells, and it's the T cells controlling the cancer. And then when I actually speculated this might be happening, I asked the people in the lab to look at it, and lo and behold, another group published that cancer patients who'd received the booster had T cell exhaustion. I mean, they couldn't have put it better.
And the T cells are policing, they're looking for cancer cells to to arrest and detain.
That's a very good way of putting it. And they probably do it on a daily basis. I mean, we have abnormal cells rise every day. There's just millions, and it's very well controlled. And we know this, that patients who've had very bad cancer, we can give them the new immunotherapies now to boost their T-cell responses, and they can get complete responses and be under control for years. And so this is what was happening with the booster vaccine. It was perturbing this wonderful equilibrium of control and basically interrupting all the resources, and it led to a depression of the T-cell response. Now, I thought that was the most likely explanation, but I was amazed at how bad it was in some patients. As I said, they used T-cell exhaustion, not T-cell suppression, but exhaustion, that they'd just been stimulated to the point where they were no longer able to do their job. And then another paper came out showing that after the booster, not after the first and second induce what we call immunoglobulin subtypes. We call these 1 and 3, and these make neutralizing antibodies. But after the booster, many people now have reported that the subtype switches to 4. Now, what this means, instead of attacking a virus with a neutralizing killing, they switch off to a tolerizing one. And IgG4 is exactly the antibody response you want if you have a kidney transplant or a liver transplant. You want to tolerize the antibodies so they don't go and attack the new kidney or the renal. So all of a sudden this starts falling into place. My God, we're switching off the policeman and then we're tolerizing. And so no wonder the cancer is able to escape. But subsequently we found many other disturbing reasons why, at the very least, and my point has been that the fact that we have a scientific explanation for this, the fact that we are seeing this should be a red flag, and the MHRA should stop all the boosters. I mean, they've reduced it for people under 75, but if you're at risk, you can still get it. You can buy it at Boots, there was an announcement. I mean, all this is absolutely nonsense for a virus that has long since gone.